Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and I have another great guest. I say that every time, but I'm excited to talk to Alan Rogers. He is the Vice President of Organizational Learning and Development at FSC Franchise Company, and they actually have multiple brands. So I'm going to let Alan talk a little bit about how he wound up there and a little bit about the brands they support. Alan, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Rob. Really excited about being here. So thanks for having me on.
You got it. You got it. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you wind up right here? It sounds like an amazing opportunity and some great brands you're working with. So tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, really excited about the current opportunity I'm in and the company and the team that I work with. Really great leadership and a very strong leadership team here at FSC Franchising. And as you mentioned, we have a couple of brands that we work with, which are Beefo Brady's and the Brass Tap craft beer bar. Great concepts, both of them. A little bit different, so it's really interesting to work on both sides of that. But where I actually got my start was actually on the franchise side of the business. I started off in high school as an hourly employee with McDonald's. And shortly before I graduated, I was a shift manager. And then as I was going to college, I got promoted to store manager. And I worked for a small franchisee. So they had 4 restaurants, and the daughter was the supervisor. So after being store manager for about 4 or 5 years, I was like, these guys are never going to fire their daughter. So if I want to move up, I gotta go somewhere else. So I went into actually retail management and held some different store level and GM management positions with Toys R Us and Target. And then McDonald's called back, and actually it's McDonald Corporation. The daughter of the franchisee I used to work for had bought a store, and she had recommended me as a franchise business consultant to them. They were hiring in the Atlanta market, and they called, and I always thought that was the coolest job in the world, was to go around to multiple stores and help teams be successful and help independent business owners, franchisees be successful. And, so I went to McDonald's as a franchise consultant. And actually, you interviewed one of my franchise support teammates just a few weeks ago, Tara Riley, president of Fresh Coat Painters. Her and I were actually on the same franchise consultant team. Yeah, she was a great mentor for me when I started in that position. She had a similar career path where she worked her way through school and went into corporate McDonald's there. So was supporting that. Also did company operations for them, some franchise leadership operational positions, and then went actually to Huddle House Corporation, and there spent about 10 years in training and ops services. So my last position before coming here, I was Senior Director of Training and Ops Services at Huddle House Corporation. Had this great opportunity come on with FSC franchising, and took the position, and really excited about it, and have a great team. It's amazing the support that we provide franchisees here, and that's something that really, when I was going through the process of talking to the leadership team, I was so impressed with their single focus on making sure that we have 100% franchisee success. And just a world-class leadership team here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love hearing that too. I mean, it's one of the reasons I love doing this show is just because I love the industry and I love the idea, people first, like we talked earlier. The fact is that everybody wins if everybody wins. And that's the focus, right? The focus has to be the franchisee and the local operators. But with McDonald's in your background, I think I read that they had a fully automated restaurant in Texas. But, amazing innovators, whether you like the food or not is another thing, but what a great business and model and investment. So just like yours. So I was thinking when you said it's a great opportunity for you, I thought, well, it's a great opportunity for these guys to have you. Because, obviously, getting to that level of efficiency, it's never really stops because as you grow or grow faster or have new opportunities, right, to expand, you're always being challenged to keep that standard up, right? To keep the same quality that you always did. And so coming from your background, and I know your focus is a lot on education with this role, tell me a little bit about what sets you guys apart, right? The brands that you're currently representing or that are part of the company. And I'm sure there'll be more brands in the future, but tell me a little bit about what sets you guys apart and how do you keep that consistency while you're scaling and maybe adding brands in the future? And, how does that help the franchisees as well? But tell me a little bit from your view, how do you keep that consistency and manage the growth? Yeah,
sure. I mean, that's the big selling point for going with a franchisor instead of going out on your own is you're not just buying the name on the sign, but you're buying all the experience and the expertise that everybody in that organization has and their focus on it. So, when you buy a Beef O'Brady's or you buy the Brass Tap bar, you're buying a CMO who's got, 20 years experience as a CMO. She's been the CMO here 15 years. You've got the CFO that's been here 8 years, been a CFO for 18 years. Our CEO has been here 13 years. I've been in the industry, 30 plus years. So you're buying all that expertise there as well. And then, we own our own restaurants too. So we've got, over 30 of our own restaurants. So we have an understanding of the struggles that a restaurant has. So we're not just, selling a concept to people. We also own that concept as well. And, we test things in the restaurants, from a technology standpoint, from a menu standpoint, from a training, operational standpoint. So you have all that expertise that goes into supporting that franchisee. Rather than if you were out on your own and you had to, kind of come up with proof of concept. And, the other thing is, even if you open up a restaurant on your own, how do you consistently make it where it's sustainable success? We have a great marketing department where, they have a lot of research into menu innovation. We have a culinary, chef that's been a chef in the restaurant industry for over 30 years. Just fantastic at being able to create a craveable menu. And those are things you don't get if you go out on your own. So that's, I think, some of the biggest advantages that we have. And it's specifically with FSC, if we have a really experienced team that's very knowledgeable. And, like I mentioned before, the focus, you walk into our office and the first thing that greets you, it's a blackboard with a vision statement that says 100% franchisee success, and it's signed by our CEO. So that's one of the things I think that really separates us too, is that, we're not just out for, selling more and more restaurants. We want every restaurant we sell and every person we sell to be successful. And that's something that really spoke to me when I was going through the process there. So I think those are things that separate us, as well as just the concepts. You've got Beef O'Brady's, which is like a family sports bar. So dad can get a beer, mom can get a glass of wine if she wants, and the kids can be around. We've got some games in there, really fun environment for the family. It's been around. We're going on our 38th year. right now. So this is our 38 years it's been around. So proof of concept done 38 times. And then the Brass Tap, was founded by three guys. They wanted to create the ultimate craft beer bar experience. And, we started franchising that out in 2012. And, it's growing. It's a great growth vehicle, but it's a bar. It's got craft beer. You've got anywhere from 45 to 60 taps, but you got full liquor, beer, wine there, and a great craveable menu there too. So different concept, really exciting vibe, and a great place if you get off work and you want to take your team to celebrate something. That's actually how I got introduced to Brass Tap. There was one in Atlanta, and I took my training team from my previous job there and was like, "Wow, this is a really cool concept." And then got contacted by him, and I was excited about it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. You're looking through your lens of being a guy that worked at McDonald's and in the franchise industry. So whenever you walk into one, I'm sure you're like observing and paying attention. For you to be impressed, that's something, right? So they've done some good stuff here.
Yeah,
but and that experience, right? And we talk a lot about marketing on the show here. But that experience is really the product. Like if you can just leave with that experience, if your guests leave with that experience, you just marketed the product, right? They're going to keep talking about it. They're going to repeat and come back. That's what you want. So that's amazing. But tell me, listen, obviously a lot's been going on in the economy. All of us went through a period in the early part of the decade here with COVID.
Oh, yeah. And,
no doubt you guys, and I spoke to some of you, I believe I spoke to someone at your brand back in 2020. But it was challenging for anybody that was in certain industries, well, any industry really. But obviously you had to innovate, you had to overcome. Being in a franchise brand allows you to do that as a business owner, to have that network behind you, have everybody working on the same problem at the same time. Right. We saw amazing innovations in that time frame. And now here we are, fast forward to now, and we hear stories about labor being challenging, to get the staff in place. And here you are running training and education. I'm sure hiring and getting the best team in place is a big part of what you think about and deal with. Tell me how you guys are dealing with just the global challenges that everybody deals with the economy, and then how do you take the education and make sure those local operators have the best teams? Like how does that work?
Yeah, that is definitely the biggest struggle. I think all overall in the restaurant industry is definitely people, staffing. You have a younger workforce now than you ever did before. You have less experience. You probably have less people. And so you really got to get innovative with how you train. One of the things I read an article and a study a couple of months ago that talked about that 80% of the traffic on the internet is video. And so, we've really embraced video with our training. And then one of the things that probably made a bigger comeback in the pandemic than bourbon was QR codes. You everywhere you went, there was QR codes for everything. And so we've taken that technology too. And, we're assigning QR codes to training videos where we take and we film an expert, our back of the house manager of training, our manager of beer training, and we'll film them making a perfect cocktail, or we'll film them making a perfect burger. And we embed that video into a QR code. We put it on training material that we can put right at the point of production so that people nowadays, they're getting all their learning and information from, Instagram Reels, TikTok. So they go on, they're used to scanning and being able to watch that. And so, we've got it where they can go on and watch an expert make the product perfectly. Right when we time lapse that down, because you got to capture people's attention really quick. So we want everything to be, less than a minute, preferably 30 to 45 seconds. We put some text overlay because kitchen environment's noisy. So, you got to always be looking at how do you, kind of build a better mousetrap there and be innovative in your training. So we've really embraced video. There's going to be things that we really enhance our materials when we do reprints and everything like that. So really excited about that. We have an LMS system that has an app. We're really excited. A lot of LMS systems don't have mobile capabilities. Ours does. And again, you're talking to that younger workforce. You gotta be able to give them the training in the way that they're used to receiving their information. But we don't leave out, the other types of adult learners there as well. Like I said, we've got some text overlay. We got, build charts that are around. So we've got that's one of the other support systems that we have is I've got a full team. We've got a professional videographer on our team. We got a professional instructional designer on our team. So, when we create stuff, we've got professionals that, know how to really create some fantastic material. Been really excited about that the few months I've been here.
Well, you've keyed in on some things that clearly you understand. I just think, as a marketer, I think about attention spans. I often hear about or read about, the attention span of folks has dropped significantly since the 90s, let's say. I think, they compare it to different timeframes, but, because we're inundated with information and we weren't before. Now we are. We have unlimited information. And so how do you deal with that? Well, you immediately address that. And then you have the mediums. Like I'm still a guy that I got my phone, of course. I've always been a tech person, but I do like my bigger screens. Like I do spend a lot of time on a screen, versus other people that might not. So for me, I like big screens, and I'm often like, I don't want to watch videos on a mobile, right? But everybody does, and a lot of people sit and do a whole training on an iPhone, right? And so you have to make sure that you can serve them as well. So that's great. That's good. It's really key stuff, and clearly not something that's easy to accessible to the everyday business owner. So that's helpful. So tell me a little bit about, you mentioned some innovations on the training side. How do you see the future of dining evolving, at least with your brands? And I'm sure because training is a big part of staying ahead and making sure you're ready for things, or preempting any changes in the way people are doing, buying or consuming what you do. What do you think, like, what do you see as evolving from the two brands that you guys focus on? What would change that you see kind of happening? I know online ordering has increased, and different ways of doing things have changed, especially because of COVID, right? But tell me, what are your thoughts? What do you guys see as evolving as dining?
Yeah, definitely. Off-premise continues to grow. So you've got to really, make sure that you've got packaging that supports that. You got to make sure that, even when you're looking at store designs, are you taking into account now that you have, more off-premise dining. So you got to have places to, stage orders and things like that. And you see some really cool technology coming out on that now, with equipment providers providing warming drawers for pickup cabinets and things like that. So you got to really, look at the different ways that you're growing. I think you're going to still always have that. You need that personal relationship and that interaction too. So one of the things on training that we really want to make sure is, hey, when we do have people come in, let's build that connection. Let's build that relationship so that people come back. A lot of times nowadays, people are starved for that. Remote work is up a lot more. And so they don't have the interactions they used to. So, when they come in, we might be the only person that they've seen that day. They're getting off a 8-hour shift and coming in, but that 8-hour shift was at home on a computer. So they need that interaction. They need to be able to, have a great time out. and be in a great environment. So, one, we do want to make sure we're addressing, things like, off premise and third party delivery. But we also want to make sure that we're really supporting that engagement and that interaction with the guest there as well.
Yeah. Because like I touched on earlier, and a lot of times when I'm speaking with folks like you, we talk a lot about, like, if it is a restaurant concept of some sort, and there's different, obviously, kinds of restaurants, but it is about an experience, and it is about the quality of the food, right? And because, if that's good, like you said, you're right. Everybody, we prefer, like I do spend a lot of time virtually, and I do have my ways of visiting certain businesses that I like. Right. Whether it's a grocery store or it's a restaurant or it's a store, like sporting goods or something, I like the interaction.
Right.
And that'll never stop as long as we're all humans. Right. Yeah. And I think it's something now that means even more now than ever, because it's like, we used to just think of it as, well, of course, that's just the way life is. We always interact, right? We go to work, we do this. But see, now it is an experience. I go specifically because I want that interaction with other people. And so if you treat me really well, then I feel really good. And that's sort of the marketing. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to come back more often. I'm going to tell my friends, I'm going to bring people back. It might be business oriented. I might, do catering, who knows? But it is a lot about the experience and the quality of the food. So tell me a little bit about, I know we live in a world now, especially with the younger generations coming up. People are conscious of how you source ingredients and how you go about, putting your dishes together and all that. How do you guys approach that in terms of just making sure, hey, the food is at a standard that this is our standard and it needs to stay that way? So how do you maintain that? And what goes into that?
Yeah, so we have a culinary department that has, we have a great chef with tons of experience. We've got, an assistant chef there as well. We have a full purchasing department that makes sure that we're sourcing and can source throughout our distribution centers, because we're throughout the country, obviously. We're out west, we're all the way to California, Georgia, Florida, everywhere in between. So we've got to make sure that when we do look at products, that we're thoughtful in, are we going to be able to source that product in all of our distribution centers, and that all of our stores will be able to get those products. So our culinary team works with marketing, with purchasing on that. I also have somebody off of my team that works with them to make sure too that we can execute that flawlessly in the restaurant. So, we want to make sure that we don't stifle any kind of creativity or anything like that, because that's something that really drives guest transactions, is craveability into a menu, but you got to be able to execute it. And so we've got a great partner in our chef and our culinary team that our trainer, our lead back of the house training manager, he works with them from ideation. So when they're first starting to look at a product that they're going to present to our leadership team, to our franchise advisory council, we're working with them early on to make sure that we can execute those products in the store flawlessly. And we're also working with purchasing to make sure we can get those materials sourced and don't have to pull some kind of promotion early because, hey, it was successful and we ran out of it. We're
too successful. Yeah. I was going to say you don't want it to be too successful, right? That's you got to be ready for the floodgates to open.
Yeah. So we're always thinking of that. Also, one of the other members on my team, he works with them on smallwares and equipment. So if there's anything that we're going to need from a new smallware, that we're thinking of that, we're getting that in, we're ordering it, or making sure through our equipment providers that we're going to be able to have that in the restaurants too. So, a lot of things go into, LTOs and different, new menu items behind the scene that people don't think about. But that's a benefit of having a franchisor that's been doing this for a lot of years.
Oh, totally. And I, my daughter happens to have a really strong interest in culinary, types of things and restaurants. And so we watch, a lot of the reality shows that have been out over the years. And I've learned a little bit about, just from what they talk about, right? What is the restaurant doing wrong? And by the way, there's no franchises on those, but basically, these are just independent, restaurants. And it's a lot of times is about that menu. You want to be creative and you want that creative ability, but can you really execute that profitably and consistently? I mean, really. Yeah. And so it's usually, let's do less is more, but let's do it really well and make sure the ingredients are fresh. And so it's the same thing you're saying, but it's like built in. Like anyone who starts a franchise wouldn't have known what to do wrong because you eliminated all the wrong things to do.
Right.
So with this show being a marketing show, I always like to ask at least one good marketing question. So you've got a new restaurant running. Obviously, we'll leave launch because I know launch is one side of it, right? Getting ready and right. PR and letting everybody in town know, and there's a lot that goes behind that, I'm sure. Tell me a little bit on the technology side with the point of service and again, once things are going, how do you help the franchise owner market that location? What is some of the key ideas? And obviously, it's about getting folks to come back, getting them to share their experiences, obviously, if they're positive, but even if they're negative, so you can learn. But tell me a little bit about how that plays into some of the digital marketing today and technology like your point of sale.
Yeah. And again, we have a tremendous CMO and field marketing managers that work with the franchisees to make sure that they're successful and put together, specific plans that really help, the individual franchisees in their area. Local store marketing, they work with that. But as far as with the digital marketing too, we have app that you can order from. You can join a loyalty club and build points. On the brass tap side, it's really cool in that you can go in and test your beer knowledge and everything, and go in and just learn a lot about different beers and different styles of beer. It's amazing, just the information that you can learn through the apps that we have, especially on the brass tap side. But those loyalty programs are really beneficial. And, there's a lot of different, every company nowadays, with travel and hotels and airlines, people are used to loyalty programs. So, with restaurants, you really start to see it coming on board now. And I think we have a couple of really fantastic ones that really market to the different, both different brands there. But we have a really strong marketing department. And like I said, so it's not just after launch. We're there always with you. We have, ad campaigns throughout the year. We have LTOs. We also just have different vendor specials, like we might be doing at the brass tap, like something where it's a special with flat tire, and we're marketing that. And March Madness was a great time for us. Super Bowl is like our Black Friday in retail, and our marketing department is always really pushing the envelope on advertising those. And again, we have great field support for it. We had the other day, I had a trainer out supporting a restaurant where we were doing a local store marketing event with the elementary school band. We were up 126% for the day. And, but so you got operations support there, you got training support, you got marketing support. And that's another thing, not just do we have field marketing people, we also have regional franchise consultants that are assigned to each franchisee group. And, they're always out there making sure from a business planning standpoint that you're going to be successful.
Yeah, wow. I almost want to buy one.
Yeah. Hey.
You do a great job explaining it. No, it's
in touch with some people that
yeah, I know a guy. But when I think of marketing, I especially with an experience type product like a restaurant where it's about your social life and your experience and food and so many good things. But it is about, when you think about reputation, repeat, resell, right? Now, the reach part would be all the hard stuff, that being everywhere, being ubiquitous in your little world, right? Like you're on Facebook, you're on Google, you're here, and you've got a team, right? It would be quite difficult for someone to just jump into all that, right? And I think in the restaurant industry, you want to use those channels to do the repeat, resell, keep that reputation, and that's real, because it's just the same audience around where the restaurant is. And if you can do a great job of doing that, then, you'll always have a thriving business. I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
We all want to,
Yeah, you got to be really forward thinking too. You got to know what the trends are going to be, because if you're late to the party, you're not going to have the product. And, by the time you get ready to start selling it, that fad's going to be out, and there's going to be another one. So, that's the other thing. Marketing's always got to be forward thinking and really looking ahead at, hey, what's the trend going to be, 6 months from now? Because, we got to develop creative. We've got to do photo shoots of it. We've got to develop menus around it, products around it, all those kind of things, and get purchasing time to be able to source the products. And
that's brilliant. That's another level. That's a next level thinking, marketing wise. That's someone that has hundreds of locations, and you know what I mean? It's like, but you're right. I think in terms of marketing skills, when you're in the restaurant business, you got to be pretty good at it, right? Yeah. Because you're always communicating and getting attention, right? You got to get people's attention. And so, well, you shared something earlier, and I wanted to kind of wrap the show up. And I mentioned earlier, I love kind of being here with you and picking the brain of guys like you. But you said something earlier I thought that was a great example. Like when you said 100%, right? 100% franchisee success. Now, it's a very basic thing, phrase. Like, okay, 100%. But really what I take from that is 100% we're in. We're all in. There is no variation. It's 100% success. Right. We're giving all of that. We're giving all of our, and I'm committed at the top here. This is my signature. So I thought that was a brilliant way to say to everybody, this is what we got to be always thinking through this filter, right? When you're working with franchisees or when you're any part, you think through that filter. But is there anything as a leader in your world, in the education side of the business and running the teams that do that, is there anything that, or even in training or in teaching, that you have felt that is a key principle or idea that has just helped you be better at that or help others learn faster or whatever you want to share? But I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I think it's always be developing people and be a mentor to people. I think the success I had has always been either from it's kind of a dual. It's that I've always had somebody that's been mentoring me to be better, but also I've always had great people around me. And when the way I got into training was when I was in operations, because the early part of my career was always operations, whether it was company ops, franchise ops. But the way that I was successful was by training and developing people. And that's how I got into training. Was eventually leadership started saying, hey, that he really developed some great teams and great people and great programs. So I think you always got to be, developing people. And to do that, you got to be communicating with people and find out, hey, what's their goals? And even if they have a goal that you don't think they're ready for right yet, letting them know how to get there and career mapping that. I think that's, for me, that's what's made me successful. It's all about people and all about developing people, and that's, you look at, kind of one of our big rocks here for both brands. For us is to really develop and build out a leadership development program, and specifically a develop from within program too. As we mentioned, it's harder and harder to get people. Staffing, number one, toughest thing in the industry. So we got to grow our own leaders, and we got to give them the tools for that, and we got to give our managers the tools to be able to develop people. So we're developing a whole career pathing model and leadership development program, and honestly, that's what's been able to help me be successful in my career.
Yeah, that's how you got here. And that, I think that's brilliant, right? Because that is so true. Why? So if you build a team and you bring people in, and wherever they're starting from, some are more experienced, but a lot are starting from a place where they're not as experienced. Why not give them a track to run on? Why not show them the future?
Right.
Why not, because not only is it good to be thinking, how do we develop them, but it's also good to give them the incentive to say, we want you long-term, right?
Right.
Like when I grew up, they were still talking about, and probably you too, where you thought, oh, your career will be one company, or after you have a couple of jobs, then you'll be in one company. And it's just not that world really, but it needs to be more back to that though. I mean, right. Brands have to give you a reason to say, I could be here for a long time. I mean, there's a path to run on. And so I think that's amazing that you think that way, and it can only help everybody in the brand. So it was great having you. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, is there a website? What's the best way to learn more about these brands? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can go on to beefobrady's.com or the Brass Tap and .com. And there's, even if you just Google search it, it'll come up. And on the site, it's got, be an owner. And, you can click on that and it goes through all the different requirements. It gives our story, gives us some bios to our leadership team there as well. So you got all the information that you need to make the great decision of becoming a Brass Tap franchisee or a Beef O'Brady's franchisee.
Beautiful. Well, Alan Rogers, it was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Bye for now.
Bye.